Takes more than guts to be a gangster. It takes good ideas. And I hope these ideas help you. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your mob boss, GangsterKT. And today we are doing a video of the top 10 characters to invest in for Marvel Strike Force for July of 2023. Also going to cover 10 bonus tunes in case you have these 10 maxed already, and then going to talk a little theory about powering up characters and min-maxing that in general. So when I was first getting into this game and watching content creators, but before I could really theory craft myself, I loved these top 10 videos. I'd basically copy them and it'd be how I'd plan my roster, and really helped me a lot. And I feel we don't have a lot of them in the content creator community right now. They're definitely out there, but I'm going to try and start doing them a little more. So I wanted to start with the most important, and that is the top 10 characters. So this is to invest in. It's I'd say pretty similar to the 10 best characters, but maybe a few deltas there, with investment needing to focus on the future. So with that said, let's get into powering up characters here. So first thing, wanted to talk about a little theory. And this isn't perfect, but in general, with powering up, there's 4 different ways to do it. You can do leveling, gear, yellow stars, and red stars. And again, in general, but not perfect, but about 5 levels is worth the same power as 1 gear tier, is worth 1 yellow star, is worth 1 red star. And each one of those is typically a 5 to 10% increase. Now there's definitely some deltas there. So for example, right now the T18 upgrade is closer to 20, maybe even 25% when you include the gear itself. So it's just huge. So that needs to be factored in. It's also a lot more expensive, right? With the T18 uniques and how hard those are to get, how much gold they cost. Level 90 to 95 is also an exception. It's closer to a 15% upgrade. So it's a little higher than a normal 5 level, but what's really interesting, if you can see that picture on the right, and huge thanks to Kicking Pigeons, KP, and the Alliance for getting me this picture. But the power level there on Magneto goes up about 27% from going from level 90 to 95, which is huge, obviously. However, the stats themselves, the health, damage, and armor go up about 13%, and the focus and resistance went up about 5%. So I think that's slightly different depending on the character. Level to 90, 95 is huge, but it's actually a little deceiving because the actual power and the stats you get from that are not as much as the power level shows. So if you remember back with the T14 upgrade, you almost had to look at that when you were looking at the teams you were fighting because it wasn't reflected in the actual power level, but that upgrade was a stat monster. And so this is kind of the opposite. Guys you're fighting that are level 95, which you can't see enemy level, but they're going to have a slightly inflated actual power level over what their stats are because of this dynamic I'm talking about right now. But again, in general, 90 to 95 is bigger than most 5 level increases. It's also more expensive, but you do get what you pay for. So right now with gear, in my opinion, gear should fully be prioritized based on trying to get Big Boy Apocalypse, so the T17 for the Horsemen and the Scopely original characters, and then focusing on DD6, which is going to be different characters, characters like Captain America that I haven't really worried about in quite a while. I'm needing to look at again, Black Widow. So that's really where the gear focus should be. So out of your 4 options, gear's kind of pigeonholed. Also say you should always get as many yellow stars as possible, and the only way to really plan that is during the event and character releases and trying to min-max those events. So those 2 are kind of off the table, and it really just leaves levels and red stars for the agency you have and how you want to power up your character. So for this list coming up, I'll say it's mainly about gold spending. The way I identified these top 10, I said if all my characters are level 94, who would I take to level 95 first? If I could take one guy there, who would I do first and then second and so on? So I made sure it's not about teams like a lot of tier lists are. It's actually about individual characters and where should you put them. But I will say the caveat, if you are holding your alliance back in raids and how important those are for the teal gear, your raid team should be your #1 priority. So that should go to the very top of this list. But assuming you're holding your own in raids, this list is more PvP focused, and let's get into that. All right, so top 10 characters to invest in for July 2023. We will go in reverse order here. So number 10 on my list is Dormammu. So he has been a beast for a while. He's an older character. But if you don't have these ones ahead of or if you have the ones ahead of him maxed out and you still don't have Dormammu maxed out, I think he's still worth doing. He's going to be used in Crucible and War for a long, long time. Not used in raids anymore, but the incremental power on him is huge and really helps out for him to be able to flip the buffs with extra focus and for just all that damage he still does on his ult. So an amazing character and still worth investing in. Number 9 is Nick Fury. So he made the top 10. His main value is in raids, which, as I mentioned, isn't really the focus on this list, but he just single-handedly enables so much with that team, and we all need that team for the Incursion raid, the Rebirth team. So I think he is worth it. I am still using him in Crucible daily. I'm using him in War for every war. So still getting a ton of plug and play, but again, the main gain here is really how much enables the Invader team and allows you to use them in the Incursion raids at lower values. Number 8 on the list is Morgan Le Fay. So pretty amazing that she's number 8, and I think that reflects this as an investment list, not a best characters, because she's probably a better character than that still. But she is getting a little older. With that said, she is still unbelievable. Her turn rewind on the ult, if they don't have negative effects or getting them the negative effects. Her damage, just the basic damage, doing the percent health as well, is just huge for some of these other game modes. So Morgan Le Fay is amazing and still worth investing in. She will not be used in raids much longer, so that's kind of the only lookout. But her real valuable is still Crucible and War. Number 7 is Nova. I was hoping this guy would be number 1. I was able to get him 7 stars, you can see, and I went all in on him, maxed him out as quickly as I can. But just being honest with myself, I think Nova's amazing. His battlefield effect's great. It's not as impactful as Red Hulk's battlefield effect, but it is still really nice. We'll probably get more creative with being able to use those extra deflects for extra damage down the line. And Nova's just a stat beast. He resists everything. He does great damage. He's very survivable. So he's a plug and play character right now in Crucible. We'll see if Nowhere does get their own Crucible node and is good enough for that. But for me, I am actually using Nowhere on defense because they're newer. But long term, I'm more planning to use him plug and play. He's one of the best characters available in War because the extra buff he gets in War. He's the best character on one of the newest teams, and I think Nova is well worth maxing out if you haven't already. Number 6 is Quicksilver. So you've seen my previous videos on who to invest first, Nova or Quicksilver, and I did decide on Quicksilver for myself. Now that was specific for Red Star. Quicksilver doesn't really have a team. I know he does have some use with the X Factor and how much they crit, how many turns they take. So that can help there. But in general, he's just a plug and play machine. Whatever defense you put him in on Crucible, they're going to be better. Wherever you use them more on offense or defense, they're going to be better. So he's just unbelievable. I can't imagine what he's going to be like at 7 red stars one day. He'll probably be a little power crept by then. And they're really controlling how powerful we can get him by how many red stars are available. So right now you can just take him to 5. We'll see what that looks like when you can take him to 6 and how expensive it is. But max out your Quicksilver. You won't regret it. He's so valuable everywhere he is and just an absolute plug and play beast. All right, so moving on with this list here. Number 5 is Spider Weaver, and I'll say the mighty have fallen a little bit. So Spider Weaver is still probably the best character for Crucible. Still a really good character in War, not quite as valuable there. Still great in raids, although will be replaced with the Bifrost team here that we're all powering up right now. But overall, Spider Weaver is just still unbelievable. Using her in Arena, still in the Arena meta. So I think if you don't have a max Spider Weaver, number 2 on my Red Star recommendation that I did in my last Glock Watch after Kang. So, go power up Spider Weaver, make her as big as you can, and you will not regret it. Number 4 is Vol, so the newest character on this list. And if you haven't seen, Vol's the highest damager in the game when you include her passive, and I think maybe number 2 in health, maybe 3. But Vol is just an absolute stat beast. She's going to be the most meta character for the Mystic Raid lane and will enable the rest of your Bifrost team to not need to be as big if you max out Vol. And it's just going to be a plug and play beast. We're still learning if Bifrost will really be used in Crucible. I would guess no. As many good characters as there are, I think it's going to start being more and more hybrids in there. And Vol will be a huge part of that hybrid equation. With the ability to res 2 members on her ult, with how powerful that ult is with the health steal, and the 500% damage. Vol is just unbelievable. And Raids being able to do 6 ability blocks with the special, and then of course that new empowered effect that really just gets her ability energy quickly, does extra damage, and gives her more turn meter. So power up Vol ASAP as big as you can. Number 3 on this list is Kang, and we're kind of splitting hairs here, guys. You know, I'm sure everyone can make an argument on 1 through 5, maybe all being switched up. But I did put Kang as number 3. Still, you know, the best character in the game, if not, you know, top 3 characters in the game, obviously. Still worth investing in. I think the changes to Crucible are going to make his incremental damage and power more valuable again than what they are with the current Wakanda counter cookie cutter. So just more reason to keep investing in him. He's going to be a mainstay for DD6, and just any team in war that you put him on or use him, he's an absolute beast. Still using him arena, and probably will be long term with that 5% speed cheese that he gives on offense. So Kang is amazing. He could be number 1 on this list, but again, I have him number 3. But definitely continue to invest in Kang if not maxed out already. Number 2 on this list is a slightly older character, but that is Red Hulk. And I've always had an obsession with him, so I may be a little biased here that's part of this. But Red Hulk is still, in my opinion, the best character in the game. Even being a little bit older, that battlefield effect is just crazy, can turn the tide of any match. He can solo a baby apocalypse. I'm not sure about a big boy, but I was surprised that he could so easily solo a baby apocalypse. He's still the best character overall in war, with Nakia being probably a close second. So I'm just still using Red Hawk all the time, and I don't see that changing for the next, as far out as I can see with this game. I think we'll be using him. So he's still the number 2 character I'd have to invest in right now. Him maybe not being needed for DD6 does hurt him a little, and I'm still figuring out if I plan to bring him to T18 or not. I really want to, because that power over the next year, independent of DD6, would be huge. So I think I'm going to as my first character, but the fact that I might not need him for DD6 is definitely getting me paused, and I'm still deciding that. So number 1 on this list, the biggest, the baddest, the most recent reward for all our efforts the past year and a half, but is Apocalypse. Being able to be used on 2 nodes in DD6 is really why I gave him the tip of the hat for the number 1 spot here. But he's just amazing. I don't have a big boy yet. When I do, the big boy is going to be the most dominant character in the game. There's no question. He's going to be around forever. I don't have him T17 yet because of focusing on the mutant characters needed to get him. But I finally just got all them T17 a few days ago. He is definitely my top priority to level up to 17 and to level up to 18 here as quickly as I can. Do have him maxed out every other way. So hopefully that main list was helpful to you, but if you looked at my pictures, with the exception of maybe Nick Fury being level 93 there, I think I have everyone on that top 10 maxed out, outside of gear and outside of stars. But for things that I can impact right now, I have them maxed out. So if you're in that same situation as me, I did want to show what my next 10 would be. So these are in order, but again, it's pulling straws, picking hair, whatever that saying is. But you could really rearrange any of these. But to go through them quickly, I think Kextrol would be next at number 11. She's still amazing. She's going to be around forever. Nakia at number 12 because of the viability there in war and how good she is, and then still a lot of Crucible viability as well. Gambit is 13. I think with the changes to Crucible, Unlimited is going to be more important. And you'll see I have Rogue at 14. I think Gambit is where to put the power in that team. But both of them are worth building if you haven't. I would not touch any of the other horsemen at this point on the Unlimited team. Excuse me. Deathpool at number 15. A Scopely original. You know, getting pushed out of raids, so that does hurt, but still part of that new Warriors team that's so important in Crucible. Deathpool's ult, being able to one-shot anyone, is going to be valuable and keep Deathpool around for a long, long time. Plus giving the ability energy. I wouldn't be surprised if Deathpool doesn't make a showing in more raids again down the road once Bifrost are gone, just because of how valuable that ability energy is. Number 16, I'd say Archangel. Definitely the best one to invest in on the Death Seed team, and his ult being able to one-shot people is really valuable. So I think he's still worth investing in. Number 17 is Dagger. I mentioned this on Glockwatch, but I think that's still the most important place to put the power on the new Warriors team and how important they are for Crucible. I think they're still worth working on if you do not have a max Dagger yet. Number 18 is Nemesis. I think with the Mutant Horseman team. The one with I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. But after Archangel, Nemesis is the one to put the power in on that team. So did give him a nod there. I think he's going to be very useful in DD6 as well. Number 19 is Captain Carter. So I think Rebirth is still going to have some use, but not many. But if you are using them in Crucible, I think she's really the one to build up to make that counter a lot more difficult and make that team more survivable. And then lastly, number 20, still learning about this character, but with the recent changes to Beta Ray Bill, I think he's going to be more valuable in more game nodes, and I always try and focus on the newer characters. So I actually have my Beta Ray Bill at level 95 already. I don't have any T16 gear because I'm just too short on Mystic, so I'm keeping all my Bifrost except for Vol at T15. But I do think Beta Ray Bill is going to be one of those power characters used for a long time, so I wanted to make sure to include him even if it's rounding out the list at number 20. So I hope that tier list was really helpful to you. A lot of probably obvious answers on there, but I hadn't seen one of those. So if someone's looking for it, did just want to cover what I think the best 10 characters to invest in right now with the bonus 10. So as always, I give you my word. This is the best advice I have. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Peace.